स्वामी की जय, गुरु परंपरा की जय, गोपाल की जय, गुरुदेव जय। ओम ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्तस्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, Previous Mataji. We will be discussing from chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita, the opulence of the Absolute. And today's verse is 10.34. Prabhu, 334. I don't know why it's 33 showing with this. Anyway, it's okay.
Yeah,
This
it's
is the
okay.
verse actually.
The number
Yeah,
is
it's okay.
3.
Yeah, no problem. I got it. Sorry. So let us recite the verse. Mrityu sarvaharashchaham udbhavascha bhavishyataam kirti shrirvakcha narinam Smritirmedha dhriti kshama. I am all devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. It's a very important verse from the chapter. So let us see what we can learn from this. See, from the connection between the two chapters, right? 9th and then now the 10th chapter. Is that, see, Krishna in the end of the 9th chapter, he very authoritatively commands. He says to fix the mind on Krishna. That is Manmanabha Madbhakto. He says in 9.34, right? So therefore, he is asking us to fix the mind on him. So the 10th chapter describes the Lord's opulence on which a devotee can fix his mind. And how to remember him when we see all the opulent, the powerful, and beautiful things in the world. See, the conclusion of 9th chapter is that one should become a pure devotee of the Lord. So therefore, chapter 10 will increase our devotion. How? By hearing more about Krishna's opulences. So you might have been hearing every day, right? From 10th. So actually, Krishna mentions a few of his, yes, unlimited, right? But a few of his unlimited opulences he mentions from 10.20 up to 10.39. Could you please mute? So 10.220 up to 39. He is mentioning a few of his unlimited. So now we are giving currently the 34th verse, where he says, I am the Mrityu, death, right? See, everything has a spiritual potency. The spiritual potency increases as you are satisfied in your own situations. Very important point. See, we have to be completely satisfied in ourselves, in whatever situations we are, and not to blame for anything. So we are suffering because of our activities which we have done. That is in 10th canto, 14th chapter, 8th verse, very beautiful verse, where he says, Bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. That is, all the while patiently suffering the reactions of his past misdeeds. So this is our condition. See, we always suffer, whatever activities we have done. The reactions we are suffering, either we will be enjoying or we will be miserable. So it doesn't matter, whatever it is. So vipakam, reaction to our own activities. So once we come to this conclusion, that then we close all the material accounts and keeping satisfied. See, if you're not satisfied, then material accounts continue. And we don't want to continue with right, the material accounts. So material account must be stopped. And see, very important thing to understand is as the age advances, the material account should be decreased to the minimum. And this is santosha. So advanced age should give us santosh. See, now we are all in the waiting room. We are all waiting. Sooner or later, we will see the Lord in the form of death. So whatever condition we may be in, I may be sinful. Even then I see the Lord, because at the time of death, he will come definitely. He said in the 10.34 which we recited, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. He said, I think, Mrityu sarva haraschaham. That means I am Mrityu. So we are, as a devotee, we are not scared. We are happy to see him. And that's why the spiritual potency doesn't decrease. On the contrary, it increases because of santosh, that is satisfaction. Then again, the material things should always be accepted as they are. We cannot change. The things, see, very understand that the things we cannot change should be accepted voluntarily. Understood? That the things we cannot change should be accepted voluntarily. See, by shouting and all, you cannot do anything, right? So this is a very nice point to understand. You have to accept this. We just saw that waiting room, right? So we should have the conception that we are in a railway waiting room. And as soon as the train comes, we are off, never to meet again. See, somebody in the waiting room may have a nice bedding, nice ornaments, nice suitcases, right? So we may be sitting on a bench and don't have much things. But still, we do not envy them because we know that we are only waiting for the train. And as soon as the train comes, we are going to leave. So it is difficult for a man with a lot of paraphernalia to get into the train. Whereas, if we do not have anything, or very few, it becomes easy for us. We may be waiting for 2 hours, or it may be 70 years, or 80 years, or 90 years, 100 years. But the time element has no value at all. It is all the same. The actual point is that we have to leave the place. So nobody can stick to this body, and it has to be forsaken at the end. So we have to develop the waiting room consciousness before we develop Krishna consciousness. So if this consciousness is developed, then we will not discriminate, we will not be mean-minded, and we will not be envious of others' prosperity. So this idea has to be digested and has to sink into us. Otherwise, we cannot progress an inch in devotional service. So very important, waiting room consciousness. See, if you go to the purport of this verse, 10.34, see, the translation was, I am all devouring death, and I am generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women, I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. See, Prabhupada says in the purport, as soon as a man is born, he dies at every moment. Thus, death is devouring every living entity at every moment. But the last stroke is called death itself. So that death is Krishna. See, as for the future development, all living entities undergo the 6 basic changes. They are born, they grow, they remain for some time, they reproduce, they dwindle, and finally they vanish. So these changes, the first is deliverance from the womb, and that is Krishna. The first generation is the beginning of all future activities. So this is a very important verse, to understand. Like my Guru always used to say, we should always think of the last day in your life. So we should always chant the mantra instead of Hare Krishna, Mujhe jana hai, mujhe jana hai, mujhe jana hai. I have to go, I have to go, I have to go. Then everything will fall into place. So this is very important for us to understand. So in the purport also, Prabhupada speaks about the 7 opulences, right? He says, fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience. He says they are all considered feminine. See, if a person possesses all of them or some of them, he becomes glorious. If a man is famous as a righteous man, that makes him glorious. So Prabhupada says Sanskrit is a perfect language and therefore it is very glorious. Now let us see the few points, like memory. See, if after studying one can remember a subject matter, he is gifted with a good memory. That is Spriti. What is intelligence? The ability not only to read many books on different subjects, but to understand them and apply them when necessary is intelligence. That is another opulence, Medha. And what is steadfastness? The ability to overcome unsteadiness is called firmness or steadfastness. That is dhriti. And what is patience? When one is fully qualified, yet is humble and gentle, and one is able to keep his balance both in sorrow and in the ecstasy of joy, he has opulence called patience, that is kshama. So this is a very important point for us to understand. So this chapter, basically, Krishna is mentioning his unlimited opulences, few of his, from the verse number 20 to 39. Please go through that. What are the various opulences? So today we saw about that he is coming as death. So where a devotee is never afraid, no, he welcomes it. Whereat the like non-devotees, on people, those people, they're always afraid of death. So this chapter will increase our devotion. And how to increase? We have to hear more and more about Krishna's opulences. So let's stop here. Thank you very much for joining. Hare Krishna, Granthara Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Go Premanandi. Hare Krishna. If anybody has any questions or anything to share, please.